Today's video is all about using napkins in our home decor projects. You can find beautiful napkins at Dollar Tree, Dollar General, any of your craft stores, or even the grocery store. I hope you enjoy. This beautiful floral napkin came from Hobby Lobby. We're beginning by removing that back layer, so we're only left with the top ply of the napkin. Set this down on a heating mat and carefully iron out all of the creases from where it was packaged. This is going to give us a smooth napkin to start our project with. I'm using one of these round wood tree decor pieces from Hobby Lobby. They come in a set of 3 with 3 different designs for $2.99, but you can get those when they're 40% off, so you can get all 3 for less than $2. Once you pick out your design, my napkin is fairly light, so you will be able to see through it. So I need to add a layer of paint directly to the wood piece. I'm going to apply a very thin layer of white acrylic paint, very carefully, not clumping up any of those laser cutouts. We just want a very thin coat to give us that base underneath our napkin. I also applied some to the outside edges. You'll want to trim your napkin down as close to your wood round as possible. I should have trimmed mine down a lot more, and I'll show you why in just a second. We're going to apply a layer of Mod Podge just like we did with our paint, being careful not to clump it in those laser cutouts. So you're just going to gently go over all of those pieces on the top, and before it dries, we're going to set our napkin directly on top of that Mod Podge. Then we're going to press it, and we're going to take a lighter and be very, very careful as you light this. It's going to burn away all that excess napkin. So that's why you want to trim it as close as possible to your wood round. And then if you have any larger portions like the tree trunk, we'll just burn that with the lighter as well. You want to be very careful not to burn the little branches because they're pretty thin. You don't want it to catch on fire. You won't be able to do that for these small cutouts, so I used my Cricut weeding tool, which they also have one of these tools at Dollar Tree, to go through and poke a hole where all of those leaves and the branches are, and you'll be able to clean all of those areas out. And if some of it kind of pokes through, just take a fine grit sandpaper and gently go over it to smooth it down. Now, because I used the lighter method to remove that excess on the outside, it did scorch it, so I went over that with a little bit of paint to touch that up. Once the paint dries, I'm going to seal this in with a layer of Mod Podge on the top. We'll set that to the side and let it dry. Dollar Tree carries a package of paper cardstock. It has several different sizes, colors, and textures. So I chose this blue one that has a gorgeous texture to it, and we're going to use one of Dollar Tree's signs. Now this one you can't pop out the back, so I'm just going to cut my paper down to size to be able to fit this directly inside of the sign. I thought this would give it a beautiful background for our wood round. I'm going to attach the paper inside of the sign using a layer of Mod Podge and spreading that all the way to the edges. Once you place your paper in there, you'll want to press it down firmly, and to get all of those edges, I like to use something with a flat edge, like you could use a card or your Cricut burnishing tool to make sure everything adheres all the way to the edges. Now let your Mod Podge set up before hot gluing your wood round directly to the inside of your sign. And I love that pop of blue right behind this gorgeous floral print. For this project, I wanted to use a napkin with a simple design on it. This one came from Hobby Lobby. It actually has 6 flowers on the entire napkin. Again, we're going to remove that back layer, so we're only left with the top. I'm going to cut that in half We are using a real wax candle. You could use an LED candle, but make sure that it has the wax coating on the outside. I'm going to wrap this around my candle, and then I realized I will not be able to use that third flower because they're going to overlap each other, and you don't want your prints to overlap. So I'm going to trim that part off, and I'll be able to wrap this candle with just those two flowers. So it'll be one on the front and one on the back. You'll want to wrap it tightly, and then take a piece of parchment paper and wrap that around your napkin. Hold it very tightly, and we're going to take our hair dryer on the highest setting and go over top of this very slowly. This is going to heat up that wax and seal the napkin directly to it. You can tell that it's working as the ink is getting a little bit darker. Now, my hair dryer gets super hot, so I went and got an oven mitt because it was burning my hand trying to hold it there the whole time I was putting the hair dryer to the wax. But you'll want to do this over the entire thing until that napkin seals directly to your candle. So I just did one section at a time and then rotated a little bit, did that section, rotated it, did another section. Look how gorgeous that turned out. You could do this with so many different colored napkins, different sized candles. I'm going to do it on the smaller one, just adding one flower, and I'm going to do it the exact same way I did the other one. Now, I didn't show you me trimming the napkin off because once you remove your parchment paper, you are going to be left with some napkin at the top and the bottom. So you'll just want to trim that as close as possible with your scissors. And then while the wax is still a little warm, you'll be able to press that extra napkin into the wax. But this was so much fun, and these turned out so beautiful, and I would love to know what you guys think. I'm going to cut one section of this napkin from Hobby Lobby, and I'm not removing the back layer just yet. Because this is more of an intricate design, I'm going to take a paintbrush with just water on it and dab it around the design on the napkin. Then, using my weeding tool, I'm going to remove the excess napkin from the design. You just want to be really careful not to tear your design. So as I was doing this, I really liked the jagged edges that this weeding tool is giving me. So I found that it was a lot easier just to do small sections at a time. Pull it with your weeding tool, and it's going to give you this beautiful jagged edge. I'm going to do that all the way around the design, and then you'll set it to the side and let it completely dry. Now, you could have removed your back layer first if you wanted to, but I was afraid I was going to rip the napkin. I thought that back layer might help me to have a little bit more control over this as I was doing it. So we'll set that to the side. We're going to let it completely dry, and we're going to use one of Hobby Lobby's wood rounds. This comes in a pack of 6 for $5. They're 6.5 inches. But again, if you get it at the 40% off sale, you can get 6 for $3. Now, I wanted to give this a base coat very similar to the napkin border on the outside, and the closest thing I could find was Waverly's chalk paint in the color Ocean. I applied a coat of that and let it dry. Then we're going to take some school glue and some white acrylic paint, and we're going to give this a crackle finish. Depending on how thick you want your cracks to be will be how much school glue you apply. So apply that glue on there, and while it's still wet, add your acrylic paint on top. Now I put way too much, so I do have to wipe some of that off on a paper towel, but you'll just want to put an even layer of your white paint on top, or your top coat, whatever color you choose. Then while that's still wet, take your hair dryer on the highest setting and slowly go over top of this, and it's going to form the most beautiful crackle finish. It's going to bring that base color out. So just depending on what you want your cracks, like the colors, to be, that'll be the color you want to paint your wood round first. And you'll want to set that to the side and let it dry, because even though you went over it with your hair dryer, it is not going to be dry yet. So once it is dry, add a layer of Mod Podge on the top. Now I'm going to go over the entire piece because I want it to have the same sheen. And while the Mod Podge is still wet, you can add your napkin print on there. Then I took a paintbrush and gently went over and pressed the napkin down. You want to work more from the inside and go towards the outside so it'll keep any air bubbles out. Then add a layer of Mod Podge on the top of the napkin to seal this in. And be real careful because the napkin's very delicate. You don't want to rip it. Once your Mod Podge dries, you could be finished, but I want to add a border to mine, so I'm going to take some twine and hot glue that around the entire wood round. And I also went ahead and added a hanger to the back just in case I decided to hang this up. I took my lighter and very carefully singed all the little furry pieces off of the twine to give it a more clean look. For this project, we're using one of Dollar Tree's plain cardboard gift boxes. I'm going to give mine 2 coats of a Waverly's chalk paint in the color French linen, including the lid. I'll set those to the side and let them dry. We are going to use another napkin from Hobby Lobby. This time I went ahead and removed the back layer first, then taking a wet paintbrush went around the design that I wanted to use. Again, using my weeding tool to separate those pieces and leave those jagged edges. You'll then want to set that to the side and let your napkin dry. Look how pretty this is already. Now that the paint has dried on our gift box, we're going to apply a layer of Mod Podge just to the lid. I wanted to keep this very simple and only add the pattern to the lid. Once you press your napkin down with your paintbrush, go over it with a layer of Mod Podge to seal it in. You can really customize these gift boxes. They'll make beautiful ways to give your friends and family gifts, but you could also use them as home decor. For this project, you'll want to use a napkin that has a print on the entire napkin. This one came from Hobby Lobby. Go ahead and remove that back layer and put this on a heat protective mat. Since we are using the entire napkin, we're going to iron out those creases. I have this set on 365. You only have to go over each of those creases one time and it's going to smooth it out nice and perfect. Then we're going to take one of Dollar Tree's small glass plates. Make sure it's thoroughly clean and thoroughly dry. We're going to be applying the napkin to the back side of the plate. So put a nice even layer of Mod Podge on the entire back side, spreading it all the way to the edges. If you have a lot of excess, make sure you get that off first. Then put your napkin print side down and then gently press the napkin to the back side of the plate, making sure you go all the way to the edges. I did find it was a lot easier to set this on top of a paint bottle, and then we're going to add a layer of Mod Podge to the back side of the napkin, again all the way to the edges. Just add a thin layer and don't worry about those wrinkles because we're going to do something really pretty with that towards the end of the project. Now once you've allowed your Mod Podge to completely dry, take a fine grit sandpaper and go around the entire plate, removing that excess napkin. Again, set it on top of a bottle of paint to make it easier to work with, because I'm going to paint the back side of this with 2 coats of a chalk paint in the color French linen. You could skip this part, but I thought it would be really pretty to add this soft color on the back and bring out the texture of the wrinkles on the napkin on the back of this plate. So I added 1 coat, let that dry, and added the second coat and let it dry. Look at that gorgeous texture. It looks like a real piece of pottery. And when you flip it over, oh my goodness, that is gorgeous. Since we didn't do anything to the front of the plate, it is food safe, but I do recommend that it is hand wash only. I hope you enjoyed today's projects, and if you have a favorite, let me know down in the comments section. Don't forget to check out our other social media accounts. All those links are in our description box below. And if you haven't subscribed already, we would love for you to click that subscribe button and become part of our crafty crew here at Country Lily DIY Decor. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.